Right. Let me explain where we are now, shall I? We are in a situation where we have a local board member, who is Councillor John Johnson, who's over there. We have two adjoining board members in the area where the road is going, and they are the ones who are going to speak. Councillor Chattel is in the middle, Councillor Summers, who is on the end. Let me just explain these three people. They are not a member of the committee and they do not have a vote in these proceedings, but they have a vote to speak and there's no time limit with them, although they did tell me they'll be very brief. On top of that, we've got two cabinet members. Councillor Price is here and Councillor Harlow. They will be speaking a bit later on. When they have finished speaking, they will be leaving the meeting completely because of their position on the cabinet. So I hope that's all clear for you. So we're going to proceed on now with the speakers. When all of those speakers are finished, we'll be talking and starting our debate. So, and I hope we can all keep cool, all our public people that are left, so we can get on with the meeting. Right, thank you. Who wants to start in terms of the adjoining members? Councillor Summers or Councillor Chapel?
Councillor Chapel.
Fight it out between yourselves, wherever you are, right?
Okay, Chairman.
Councillor Chapel.
I go first. Chairman, any piece of concrete put in an open countryside is a block on the landscape. I'm sure that we all agree with that. The committee has today to decide if the second phase of the building of the Hereford bypass should go ahead. The Southern Link Road is not a road to nowhere. Its primary reason for being built is not just for traffic congestion or for the building of more homes. These are incidental. It has been long awaited by my constituents. This application should not be taken in isolation with plans for South-wide regeneration. The bypass, as you have heard earlier, will boost the economy of Herefordshire PLC, of which we are all shareholders, and keep the county out of the hands of the West Midlands conglomerate, because unless we boost our economy, we will no longer be able to have the services that we also rely on. And we have seen in recent months and couple of years how desperate our social care is, our education is, lacking in funds. The Southern Link Road is going to play its part in that. It's a start. Whether there is an eastern bridge or a western bridge, this road needs to be built. This application before you is the second of possibly 6 applications to build the bypass. The final result, being a road around the city, distributing traffic more equally and assisting business and the economy. So I hope the committee will bear in mind that the majority of residents that I have spoken to over the years want a bypass, and that if we refuse this application will yet again evoke verbal outrage for you and for the council as a whole. Chairman, Cabinet Committee, I represented the Hinton and Hunterton wards for 25 years and witnessed in that time an annual increase of heavy vehicles on 3 of the county's busiest roads: Ross Road, Belmont Road and Home Lacey Road. Residents in Belmont Road tell me of many near collisions between lorries and cars in this narrow road where cars are parked down one side. I am told that there are at least 100 movements a day just by lorries going to and from the Allensmore mill. A third of these could use the New Link Road instead of Belmont Road. Think how many other vehicle movements could also go down the New Road. I have stood in Belmont Road on many occasions and witnessed cars backing up in the centre lane turn into Walnut Tree Avenue, causing serious tailbacks. And these vehicles, they go into Ross Road or to Home Road. Chairman, members who attended the briefing last week at Alfred Beatty would have driven along Home Lacey Road and witnessed the work going on to narrow this busy road that divides two major housing estates and leads directly to Rotherwas and the enterprise zone. The narrowing of the road has enabled us to widen the pavements and put cycleways in. There will be 3 Toucan crossings, which I understand a Toucan crossing means that 2 people or a bicycle and person can cross, encouraging more cycle use. And this has been planned for more than 10 years. And it is part of the plan to keep heavy traffic off residential roads and to direct them to the Rotherwas Access Road and now to the Southern Link Road. So this application links into the work on the Lacey Road, where we have identified that more and heavier vehicles are likely to join our city roads and the need over the next few years to develop new routes to Rotherwas. At the last meeting of planning, most members expressed their concern about added traffic to Belmont Roundabout with a new petrol station proposal. That congestion can only get worse as more vehicles come down Belmont Road. Rotherwas is expanding. 20 years from now, from Skylawn and Rotherwas, hopefully, the enterprise zone will be full of businesses providing well-paid jobs for Herefordshire people. Jobs that will be boosting the local economy. Taking parts of the area I represent, South Wye, out of the top quartile of the most deprived in the country. Which is my main reason why I have to support this road and bypass. Committee, people are the environment too. They need to be preserved and cultivated, watered and fed. As councillors, we have a duty to hand to future generations a place where they can afford to live with decent jobs. How many of your children and grandchildren have left the county to go and live and work elsewhere because they cannot get the salaries and the wages that their colleagues elsewhere can? 30 miles away, we have an example where Ludlow was taken from being a backwater with a history to a thriving county town with a future. I know, because in the 60s, when the debate about the then High Park was there, I was much younger. And I know that there were many arguments and families were divided about it. Ludlow was a dump. Today, it's a wonderful place. The Southern Link Road is vital for the lifeblood of Herefordshire. Vital to take parts of South Wye out of deprivation. Important as part of the economic infrastructure that will give shareholders of Herefordshire PLC a dividend that will secure the future of this county for generations to come. We have to start the bypass somewhere. Rotherwas Access Road was part 1. Southern Link Road is part 2. I don't know where the third part will be, but can we start now for the economic future of Herefordshire?
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you very much. Councillor Sons, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chair, for allowing us to speak. Today you'll be voting on the SLR, which is part of the Southwide Transport Package, or as we go on the road to Wales. Like most transport packages, it has been under deliberation for what seems forever. I remember back in the 50s and early 60s that Herefordshire had a pretty good rail network. In fact, I spent a few Sunday afternoons standing on the home counting goods wagons as they passed under the bridge. Around 1963, the lines between Walsh and Hereford were closed, and the government at the time said they were working on a new transport package that would benefit everyone. As a teenager, it simply meant that I had to revert to pedal power, buy a car, or emigrate. At the time, I emigrated. By the way, Eugene Follow makes quite an interesting reading, especially if it's read with today's property mind and from Herefordshire's point of view. I only mention this brief moment in history because it seems government bureaucracy has had a run affair with transport packages as long as I can remember. Someday, somebody might even get it right. I am well aware that what I have to say today will probably not make a great deal of difference when it comes to the greater scheme of things. However, I am confident that each one of you will vote from the point of view of those who elected you. Personally, I'm not sure that today's vote will culminate in the Southern Link Road, simply because there is still a lot of convincing to be done. There certainly seems to be a number of high-profile objections to the plan, such as local MP Jesse Nolan, parish and city councils, and groups like the CPRE, to name a few. It is my understanding that the 27 million has been provisionally allocated for sustainable transport in Herefordshire. I should repeat the word sustainable transport. And to be honest, I'm not sure if the council has proved to those who hold the purse strings in Westminster that this package is the best use of such funds. After all, any plan that has set itself to as many hoops as the Southern Link Road is apt to do, I believe 689 representations at the last count, begs the question, is it ever going to happen? Although some may agree, common sense is actually one of my strong points. It's stood me in good stead over the years. And at this moment, it's asking me why one bridge is doing most of the work and another could help share the load. Rather than lose 27 million to stubbornness and ego, this might be a good time as any to put an Eastern River crossing on the table. I would like to suggest that the new bridge along the connecting road to the M50 came up for discussion. Look, those businesses who have previously turned down Herefordshire as a viable location would probably reconsider. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Sanders. Thank you. Coming on now to the local member for the area, Councillor Johnson. That's John Johnson, and he's going to speak. Councillor, you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee members and members of the public. I'd like to firstly thank all the speakers for their presentations today. I'm sure they will all feed into the debate very well. I'm sure I'm going to repeat some things, but I will try to get through it as quick as I can. Before us, we see an application for a piece of infrastructure that does little to alleviate the congestion in our city. There's no denying that Hereford has issues with traffic in the city centre, with air quality issues and heavy congestion, especially in term times. For the 30 years or more that I've lived in this county, this has been a controversial conversation that's been ongoing, and people have questioned when will Hereford get a bypass. All the market towns in the county have one, and yet the main city does not. We have the A49 trunk road going through our city. We have the A465 main road in the South Wales. Both of these roads converge and meet on one river crossing in our city on the Hereford Bridge. We see the increased pressure on both bridges also at home racing and bridge solids as traffic tries to avoid this river crossing. I would stress that I've been very clear about aiming to see infrastructure built, and was elected with that photo of the blighted houses on Haywood Lane, who currently live in fear every time they take the road. Although it's a 40-mile-an-hour zone at many points of the day, the lane is in constant flow of traffic. There have been users of the road for many years that will increase the rat run of traffic that has been evident. The levels and numbers of cars using Haywood Lane, Bucket Hill, Tram Lane, and also Grafton Lane, as route by cars and HGVs that attempt to miss the queues on the A465 Belmont Road to get to the faster moving A49 Ross Road has significantly increased during peak times. I've been asked by Carlow and Haywood Parish Council, who object to this application, to request TROs for the use to stop these roads being used by HGV traffic because the lanes cannot take it, and they have been there as a debate on many occasions. Health issues on Belmont Road and the area are deemed to be somewhat the worst in the county, with council residents regularly reminding the council that levels of asthma and respiratory issues in the area are great concern. I've recently been involved with a petition of some 2,600 signatories who are calling on Highways Union to take some action from the A49, where there have been several accidents at Norton Brook Lane, and safety issues around the southern part of the A49 are of constant concern. Further away from this area, heavy traffic affects a number of villages throughout the Wormside ward that I represent. With Pondrive Sawmill and Tramming Mill, however, that we've heard of today, two of the largest business operators in the south, to the south of this application site, many small lanes and B roads through villages and used as shortcuts to access the county motorway network in Ross, creating high-risk areas across the network. Evidence of HGVs getting stuck on tight corners within villages adds to the safety concern by rural roads and transportation from agricultural vehicles and HGVs increasing in size rapidly. Conditions of road surfaces, edges of highways is also evident in many of these areas. The core strategy adopted in October 2015 and the LTP adopted earlier this year by the full council clearly showed there is a desire to see a bypass around the city, with many members across the council of all political parties calling for the road to be got on. Clear indication has been made by the cabinet members that Western Route is the only viable option, and that the council have supported this in the adoption of the core strategy. In my opinion, the difficulty with this has not been the need of further development of infrastructure, but the route design and the road and the lack of investigative research done at the time of route selection. Many of the issues that have been addressed in the last months could and should have been dealt with much earlier on in the process, and that has been the frustration and cause of so many issues in this process for local residents. This application has been subject to much debate and media coverage. We live in one of the most beautiful rural counties, and tourism is a huge asset to the county, and all road building design should ensure that this is taken into full consideration. With the magnitude and elevation of this road and the depth of the cuttings that need to be made, it's hard to imagine that this is the least damaging design to our beautiful countryside. With issues highlighting the fact that the road alone will do very little to alleviate traffic congestion in the city centre, it makes only good and proper sense that although the light sequences can be changed and the level of traffic going over Greyfriars Bridge will not decrease with this application today. There have been many questions in my ward around the route selection and the process that took place, and I will put to the committee that it should be considered in this decision of the application as to whether this is the correct route. One of the largest concerns to local residents who are directly involved in this application has been the process from the beginning of the road selection through to the current level. Having read past documents with information being provided, the route selection was a form that process, and much confusion and uncertainty with several changes on the way. You as a committee have to make sure that this is the right route selected on the merits against the MPPF and core strategy policies. As we will see from the agenda paper before us, there are strong questions to be answered to see if it is fitting to the current policies and evaluation alternatives. However, it has been a clear frustration by constituents in the area. We know that the land and the heritage they have lived and worked to preserve the area for many years, seeing desktop reports that do not reflect what they witness and see on a daily basis. And without the local involvement and lack of recognition of the effort and work that's been undertaken by local people, I for one feel that some people have been let down during this process with a lack of communication, consideration and key important facts. Having seen reports submitted as late as the 25th of May 2016 regarding the Conservation Officer's report on the heritage of Hayward Lodge, these local residents clearly frustrated that these points are only being identified now when they should have been reported before route selection has taken place. Heritage of Grade 2 star listed property have been neglected, and centuries of history ignored during the research undertaken by the contractor constructed to advise on this report. Concerns over architectural surveys and a lack of results to be considered as to whether they have all the information to make an informed decision for this county. Many of these issues have been raised by the objections online and here today to try and shed light on situations with local knowledge, and in many situations not even acknowledged or let alone referred to or mentioned. This has been particularly evident in the woodland surveys where species of plants have not been correctly identified and permitted when surveys were not carried out at the right times of the year. Where the protection of trees is not observed, or some of the county's ancient woodlands countries, hard to quantify the loss. In many cases, local residents have put 4 or 5 years and indeed employed qualified trained engineers to look at what they have seen in the objections online, and yet they have not seen any further consultations. Such an example of this we've heard of with the Hereford Link Road, added onto the application with the Hereford PC left questioning the consultations, the timings, alternatives not recognised or considered. This leads to the lives of people directly affected by the application. There are individuals and families whose lives have been blighted over this application for years. By this I mean those that have had direct assets affected by the application. We have visited the Green today and seen the plight of the property that will see a wall 30 metres from their front room destroyed in the local view, as well as properties listed in the offices of Rose. Many people's lives are severely affected. Families have chosen Herefordshire for a place to retire and found that there has been uncertainty over their futures and the potential damaging effects of property have not been known whatever end of the proposal and take shape. Health issues, anxiety and increased area. Sorry Mr Powell, going to Powell, I can't concentrate when you're talking line. Health issues and anxiety have increased in the area, and there is a real uncertainty that constituents just want this long process to come to an end. I'd like to remind the committee that the SLR is a part of the Southwide Transport Package, which does not form part of the application, but is aimed to increase the ability and choice of safer, clean and more sustainable transportation in the city. We've heard Councillor Rowe refer to issues of Hereford traffic in Hereford City being those of short distance journeys that never leave the city centre. Therefore, although infrastructure is required, there is a high level of responsibility on this council to ensure that we consider alternatives. But we do also have to consider the county. We are currently seeing planning applications for large developments in rural villages that are being approved, and large concerns over how people will travel into the city, thus pointing out that this road will not alleviate the situation on rural village roads and paying particular note to the increasing levels of traffic that are being placed on villages and other outlets. In each of the situations I have presented today, there are endless detail, and as such I've given an overview of the issues, as I felt unfair and unable to highlight all of the situations in detail. In conclusion, this is a tough decision because of the desire for the need for infrastructure is required in the county, and we're going to see huge numbers of housing in Hereford increase. However, approving the wrong development for infrastructure could see rural assets, heritage, ancient woodlands, and prime agricultural land taken away from them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you very much. So moving on now to our cabinet members who are present today. I think it's Councillor Harlow wants to start. So whenever you are ready, and then we'll have Councillor Bryson on the end. We'll be leaving the meeting. Councillor, whoever wants to start, Councillor Harlow, yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I've spent the last few months meeting businesses across Herefordshire. Almost without exception, they tell me that transport, accessibility and congestion are barriers to expansion. There are also major factors that companies weigh up when considering whether to relocate to the council. Herefordshire has waited many years for a solution to these problems and to deliver the improved infrastructure needed to support economic development and growing population. The only way that Herefordshire can promote a thriving local economy, a successful and healthy city, as well as providing sufficient private land to meet business needs, is to develop its supporting infrastructure. We should remember that when the Rotherham Access Road was opened in 2008, it was transformational for Rotherham economically. We would never have obtained enterprise zone status for Skylon Park had it not been for the Robbers Access Road. According to the GBLB Bill Figure report entitled The Midlands Engine and the Knowledge Economy, there are only 6 enterprise zones in the whole Midlands engine area, stretching from Hereford to Lincolnshire and down to Luton. These enterprise zones are not thrown around like confetti, and Scotland Park and Rotherwas, in my opinion, should be one of the key pillars around which we build up economic strategy. The report goes on to warn that a key component in determining the rate and scale of growth in the knowledge economy is having the necessary infrastructure to support growth. Once the Rotherwas Access Road was built, the council started focusing on what was next, and the Southern Link Road was quickly identified as the #1 priority as a key part to any future Hereford bypass. Strategically, the Southern Link Road will further unlock the possibility of a bypass around the A49 north of the city. By approving this application, you can send a clear message to everyone that Herefordshire is the place in which to invest. I believe that it's an important opportunity to demonstrate not just to house builders and employers that we are open for growth, but also show government and the local enterprise partnership that we're able to deliver growth, not just for the county, but also for the wider region. The Hereford bypass is a key priority in the next strategic economic plan. This shows that the lack of a bypass is impacting business growth, not just in Herefordshire, but across the Marches-led area. Furthermore, the lack of a bypass is limiting housing growth. The lack of a bypass is limiting jobs growth. And the lack of a bypass limits expansion at the enterprise zone. Looking over the border to our Welsh friends, it's clear that they have economic development right at the top of their agenda. Picking up on the point that Mr. Coggins mentioned earlier, you can travel down the A465 from Swansea to Abergavenny on fast, modern roads. That is until you hit the Herefordshire border. We received wide-ranging support from our neighbours, including the Welsh authorities of Monmouthshire and Powys, as well as Gloucestershire and Worcestershire local enterprise partnerships. Highway England have also set out their support for both the Southern Link Road and bypass schemes. And just picking up on the point, contrary to what Councillor Summers believes, the money from central government can only be drawn down for the specific purposes of this road. If we don't build this road, then we don't get the government money. As simple as that.
Could you be quiet, please? I've asked you before. Carry on, sorry.
Thank you, Jim. As well as the economic benefits, there will be important social benefits. Many of the rural roads between the A49 and the A465, as we've already heard, are currently used as wrap runs. We believe that despite what the Parish Council thinks, the road will alleviate many of these issues. Key routes in the city centre, such as the A49 and A465, will also benefit from a scheme which will enable the introduction of weight restriction on Belmont Road. The delivery of a package of sustainable transport measures in the South Wyre area will improve the lives and health of residents in this area. Consultation events in 2014 and 2015 demonstrated a high level of support for a link road as part of a package of measures in the South Wyre area, with a high level of support for the route which is being considered by the committee today. What I believe residents of the South Wyre and also those living near the route of the Southern Link Road need most is certainty, so that they can get on with their lives. The Joseph Roundtree Foundation recently reported in an inclusive growth monitor for measuring the relationship between poverty and growth, where they compared all the left areas in the country. They showed that the Marches region is one of the few in the country to show progress in both prosperity and inclusion. And this puts the Marches region in the top half of the index for both. We have to carry on this good work for all the people of Herefordshire, but specifically, as we've heard, for the people in South Wyre, which is ranked as one of the most deprived areas in England. The Southern Link Road is a key part of the South-wide transport package, which includes speed limits, cycleways and reductions in emissions along the Belmont Road. It has full support for LED and has secured funding from the government's growth fund. I believe the case for the Southern Link Road is clear and delivers benefits to the public. If you would like to see growth in jobs, in homes and employment, as well as the possibility of having a university in this city, then I would ask you to approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Just before Councillor Price, time is moving on. It'll be 5 o'clock in 10 minutes. I'm going to ask you formally if we can have an extension. I intend to do that in any case, unless anybody's against it. We don't want to get this far and then pack in, I don't think. So we'll see how we get on. Councillor Price, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll try and be as brief as I can. For as long as anyone in this room can remember, there has been a debate about traffic issues in and around Hereford and a demand for a bypass. Whichever route around Hereford that has been considered, the southern section has been common to all. You are here today to consider the planning application for just this section of road, and a tough decision it will be for you. Adopting this application will allow for the rest of the South-wide transport package to be enabled. To be implemented at the same time as delivery of this road will be a 7.5-ton weight limit restriction on the Belmont road section of the A465. This will allow for social integration of the local community in creating better and safer crossings, improved facilities for walking and cycling, and more reliable bus services. With less emissions and a positive effect on active travel, these will benefit the local population and give them healthier options, as well as less reliance on the car for short destination movements. These benefits are recognised by the Director for Public Health in his letter to the Planning Authority and are supported by Herefordshire Housing, the largest provider of social housing in the county, who has a large number of tenants in the South Wye area. Be under no illusion. These benefits address many long-standing issues and will only come back on delivery of the Southern Link Road. In time, the through traffic will use the bypass that the Council is now appraising for route options in the established corridor. Until then, any through traffic through Hereford on the A49 North will benefit from longer runs on change of lights at the outer end of it. You will all be aware of the Council's decision to adopt the core strategy last autumn and the local transport plan just a few weeks ago at Council. And in both documents, the delivery of a Hereford bypass is accepted and agreed. The SLR is the first phase of the Hereford bypass, not counting the Rotherhurst Relief Road as a bypass phase. The value to Herefordshire of this section of road cannot be understated for the future of jobs, housing, education and prosperity. In particular, the future funding of statutory services delivered by Herefordshire Council will be negatively impacted if future revenue from council tax and revenue from business rates does not grow. Herefordshire must grow its local economy, whether that is providing more jobs in the rural area, in the market towns, Hereford City or the enterprise zone, or creating and supporting the real bid for a university in the city, which in itself will require supporting businesses and housing, plus a lot of accommodation facility. To be able to cater for increasing needs within the city for the above and to create an active, sustainable space for increasing people movement, supporting a vibrant city centre for retail, culture, education and tourism, there cannot be any argument about the need for new infrastructure to put this all in place. The application for this road and the following infrastructure has been in the making for many years and is critical to the whole concept of a better city space and a prospering community. For all the benefits, of course there are downsides. We've heard many of them today. These issues have been raised by individuals, groups and statutory partners through the significant consultation that has taken place over several years and particularly more recently. The Council officers have considered all of the consultation responses and where relevant have put in place mitigation if possible. You will see reference to these consultations in your report. The Southern Link Road scheme is identified as a key priority within the Marches local enterprise Partnership Strategic Economic Plan. The road and supporting South-wide transport measures have funding in place at the Treasury to be released for this project as it proceeds. And contrary to what people believe, that £27 million sits in the Treasury to be released for this prioritised project only. It cannot be released for anything else without going through the prioritisation process that we have had to go through to get that funding in the first place for this project. Several route options have been considered and all were appraised using Department for Transport Standards WebTAC as a framework across a range of criteria. Highways England have confirmed their support for the Southern Link Road, and I have received supporting letters from several adjacent local authorities, who are also vocal in the need for a north-south bypass for their businesses to have a better network for access to Herefordshire businesses and beyond. So, Chairman, in summary, Hereford needs new strategic routes to create a road network to access the county for those businesses to go about their business in or out of the county. Freight traffic wanting to use the A465 into Hereford will be diverted to allow for active travel measures in the Southway area. Access into the enterprise zone will be improved and should stop much of the rat runs of new and C-class roads in the south of Hereford, thereby improving those areas for the local communities. The SLR leading into the next phases of the Hereford bypass will send a positive message to new businesses to come and build out the enterprise zone. It will give a real message to those setting up the NIT University project that Herefordshire is planning for the future and is open for business. Gives a real opportunity to make Hereford city centre a better place with green infrastructure for active travel, especially to the many prospective students that will not have cars but need to get around the city and county without congestion in the future. Finally, unlocks the future growth strategy for housing and employment that you have all signed up to with the core strategy and LTP. I'm just going to go off script for a moment. Why did I become a county councillor 10 years ago? It was because the youth of this county are losing out in Herefordshire. My own children have gone out of this county because they went to university elsewhere. They have got top jobs in this country, miles from Herefordshire, and are probably not going to come back to this county. I believe we owe it to the youth of this county and the future generations to build Herefordshire to be a place where business will be here, jobs will be here, and they can get it and good education. Infrastructure is absolutely important to any one of those bits of the equation. There you go. I'm sorry that I'm a bit emotional about that, but that is the reason why I am councillor. So I'm going to leave it to you, but now, as you have said before, under the council's constitution, Councillor Harlow and I don't have to leave the debate, so I wish you the best of the rest of the debate. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you both. Just wait for you to leave, and then we will